Wait, before you scroll past this, give me one honest minute. Not the kind where your mind is already somewhere else. I want to say something that might feel a little uncomfortable at first, but that I think you have needed to hear for a while now. I want to ask you something. What is the story you have been quietly telling yourself about your own life? The one that plays in the background even when you are not consciously aware of it. Maybe it is that you are behind, that everyone else figured something out that you have not, that you are somehow running out of time to become who you were meant to be. I want you to notice that story right now, because stories like this rarely get examined. They simply get believed, repeated, and allowed to shape decision after decision without ever being questioned directly. Here is something I want to offer you instead. That story is not fact. It is simply the loudest interpretation your tired mind has settled on, usually built from comparison, from old wounds, from moments long ago that convinced a younger version of you that you were somehow not enough. And once a story like that takes root, the mind becomes remarkably good at finding evidence to support it, filtering out everything that contradicts it. This does not mean the story is true. It only means it has been repeated so many times that it has started to feel true. And repetition is not the same as accuracy. I want to talk about the specific exhaustion of trying to outrun a feeling, instead of actually facing it. So many of us have become experts at staying busy enough that we never have to sit with whatever is actually happening underneath the surface. We fill our days with tasks, our evenings with distraction, our quiet moments with noise, all so that we never have to ask ourselves the harder question of how we are actually doing. But feelings do not disappear simply because we refuse to look at them. They wait, and they tend to grow louder the longer they are ignored, showing up eventually as exhaustion that sleep does not fix, or heaviness that has no clear explanation. I want to gently invite you to stop outrunning it, at least for a moment. Whatever you have been avoiding feeling, I want you to let it exist right now, without immediately trying to fix it or explain it away. You do not have to solve it in this exact moment. You simply have to stop pretending it is not there, because that pretending is costing you more energy than the feeling itself ever would. I want to talk about the quiet ache of feeling like you have to earn rest, love, and peace before you are allowed to have them. This belief usually forms early, often without anyone directly teaching it to us, through moments where love or approval felt conditional on being useful, on achieving, on not causing trouble. And once that belief takes root, it quietly governs an entire life, whispering that rest must be earned through exhaustion,
that love must be earned through performance, that simply existing without producing anything impressive is somehow not enough. I want to offer you a different frame, not as a slogan to repeat, but as something to actually test against your own life. Your worth was never something you had to earn, because worth is not a performance metric. It is the baseline condition of being a conscious creature, capable of love and effort and hope. A newborn baby has done nothing to earn love, and yet, consider that baby infinitely worthy of care. That worth does not evaporate as you grow, older simply because the world starts attaching conditions to it. The conditions were always the lie. The inherent worth was always the truth, buried underneath years of being taught otherwise. I want to talk about the specific comfort of remembering that you are allowed to change your mind, to change direction, to become someone different from who you were 5 years ago, without needing to justify that change to anyone. So many of us stay stuck in old versions of ourselves simply because that version is familiar to the people around us, and changing feels like it might disappoint them or confuse them. But you are not required to remain consistent with a version of yourself that no longer fits, simply for the comfort of people who liked the old, more predictable. Growth sometimes means outgrowing people, and while this can be genuinely sad, sadness is not the same as wrongness. I want to talk about the specific relief that comes from admitting, honestly, that you do not have everything figured out, and that this is completely okay. So much of our daily energy goes into appearing capable, competent, in control. Even when internally we feel uncertain about almost everything important, I want to invite you to drop that performance, even briefly. even just here. In this quiet moment, you do not have to have your career figured out. You do not have to know exactly where your relationships are heading. You are allowed to simply be someone still figuring it out, still learning, and still, despite all of that uncertainty, worthy of peace. I want to talk about the quiet courage it takes to keep trying after disappointment, to hope again after being let down, to trust again after trust was broken. This kind of repeated hoping is one of the bravest things a person can do, far braver than hoping for the first time, before you knew how much it could hurt to want something and not receive it. If you are still hoping for anything, despite everything that has already disappointed you along the way, I want you to recognize that as genuine strength, not naivety. It takes real courage to keep believing something good is still possible. I want to remind you that most of what actually matters in a life is built quietly, through ordinary days, not through single dramatic breakthroughs. Change rarely happens the way we imagine it should. It happens through repetition, through small choices stacked one on top of another, mostly invisible in the moment, only becoming visible once you look back after enough time has passed to notice the difference. Whatever you are building right now, even if it does not feel significant today, is one more layer in that slow, quiet construction. I want to close by saying something simple. You do not need to wait for some future, more accomplished version of yourself before you are allowed to feel proud of who you are right now. You do not need permission from anyone else to rest, to be gentle with yourself, to trust that you are doing better than your harshest internal voice usually gives you credit for. You are allowed to be exactly where you are, imperfect, still figuring things out, still healing from things you have not fully processed yet, and still entirely worthy of the same patience, respect, and care you so easily offer to everyone else. So, take a breath. Let your shoulders drop from wherever they have been holding tension, and whatever today still holds for you, walk into it a little more gently than you walked into yesterday, trusting that you are enough, exactly as you are right now, in this exact, ordinary, entirely real moment. You stayed until this sentence, and I do not think that was an accident. Some part of you already knew you needed to hear this today.